Okay, so in the past I've shown videos of how to update a table with a form, that a form is used to simplify data entry. However, the question that was asked of me, is it possible to use a form to update multiple tables? So rather than having one form per table, you have one form, but depending on which button you click, you update a different table. The short answer is yes. And for those who weren't wondering how to do this, why would you want to? The example that was presented was sale or rent. So if you want to track that you sold a movie, then obviously your inventory of that movie needs to be decreased by one, and anything downstream of that kind of inventory management. So do you need to order another movie from the manufacturer, that kind of thing, the distributor? But if it's a rental, then you're updating a different table, and no, you are not necessarily going to order a new movie because that one wasn't sold, it's coming back to you. So it makes a big difference for the purpose of managing inventory. So that's the example we're going to use, that you have two tables. One is of the product you sell, the other is of the product that you're renting, leasing, and that depending on which button you choose, you need to update one table or the other. So let's get to it. So let's start by making two tables. We're going to click on Create in the upper left corner, choose Table. By default, it creates an ID field, and it's going to be of auto number type. So if you click on View here, so you're on the Fields tab, click on View, click on Design View. It's going to ask to be saved. Let's name this for underscore sale. Or you could call it sell inventory, that kind of thing. This is going to be the product that you're selling, or should I say tracking the inventory of what you're selling. So for sale, we're going to get rid of primary key. People always ask me why. It's because primary key is not needed for most of the examples, not to mention there are some very specific characteristics of primary keys that I don't really want to get into in this particular example. So we're going to get rid of the primary key. And we're going to call this, let's call it movie underscore, oops, sorry, that should be an underscore title. And yes, use underscores, not spaces, for a field name. And this will just be a short text. And now we'll just save this again. And we'll close this. And now we'll do create table. Again, we'll go to Fields tab, View, Datasheet View, and we'll call this for rent. Let's use a cap there just so we're consistent. Again, get rid of the primary key, short text, and again, this will be movie underscore title. And we save and close. So what we want to do now is we want to be able to modify these tables. And as I said, these are going to be transactional tables. So we're basically creating an entry saying that a movie was rented or that a movie was sold, and then you can run a separate query that then tallies it up. So let's go to create blank form. And as I point out in my other videos, see this? These record selectors, we're going to get rid of those because it allows your user to navigate the database in a way that you may not intend. So let's go to View, Design View. We'll click on Design tab, Property Sheet. And I usually get distracted when I say this, so I'm going to make sure that the first thing I do is actually change those record selectors. So make sure the form is selected up here. That's what that black dot means. So like if you click away, now the body is selected. So you want the actual form as a whole selected. And we're going to do record selectors no, and navigation buttons no. And again, this is on the Format tab. Now what we're going to do is I was going to create a simple text entry field here, but let's actually go one step further. We're going to use a drop-down box because you don't want people manually typing in the name of a product. You want the product is you have a certain amount and you have a certain type. You don't want people to make a typo, okay? You don't want someone to accidentally invent something that doesn't exist. Like someone types in Avengers 5 rather than Avengers 4. So what you want is you want that product to be a pre-existing a pre-populated list that you're selecting from. You don't want people to do data entry. A couple ways to do it. You can create another table and you can link the table to the drop-down box, the combo box, or you can manually enter it into the combo box. I already have demonstrations of how to do it either way. So we'll mentally flip a coin and we say we'll create another table. So we'll leave this open, but we'll click Create, Table, View, Design, and we'll call this all underscore titles. Click OK. Again, get rid of the primary key. Again, get rid of the short text, and we'll call this, yet again, movie title. Now, do they have to match for this to work? Quickly looking ahead, I'd say no, the name of the field does not have to match for this to work, but since the value you're using is indeed going to be the same no matter which table you're referencing, then yes, you'd probably want the name to be the same, because if nothing else, because it is the same, that it's the name of the movie, so whether it's a available movie or it was rented or it was sold, it's still the name of the movie. So because it's really the same object, you want to use the same field name. Again, looking ahead, probably doesn't have to be for this to work, but why create an extra layer of confusion? So we'll close that. Do you want to save? Yes. All right, so we're back on our form. We're going to go to Design. This is the combo box here. I'm going to select, just going to drag and drop. Click OK. That's just a regular system. I want the combo box to get values from another table, or you want to type them in manually. We're not going to type it in manually. It's going to pull it from the table. So next, table, all titles. That's the one we just made. Next, we want to use the movie title. Next, next. Now here, I've mentioned this before in the other videos, that if the value extends beyond the width of this, no matter how big you make this drop-down box, it'll still get truncated, at least in the earlier versions of Access. I don't know if it's still true, but it doesn't hurt just to take a second and to extend that out. And then next, and then finish. So now what you have is you have a drop-down box that is linked to this table. So if you add something to this table, it'll show up here. You remove something from this table, you've discontinued it or whatever, then it'll stop showing up here. So again, you're removing that error that the user could make. They're not going to type in the wrong movie by making a typo, nor would they type in a movie that isn't available, that kind of thing. So let's go into our all titles again. Just gonna widen this and we'll put in some movie titles. So and this is a good example because we'll see if it gets cut off. And let's make another entry here. That should be enough. So we'll close that. Now, here's the thing. Entering a value here, this has already been saved in your table. So if you're ever prompted to save, it's because you've changed the format, not the actual data. So I believe it's because I widened this. That's why it's saying. I just want to make a point to remind you that the data that you enter is automatically saved. So you can't really undo this per se. You can go back and put in new values, but you can't really undo what you've done. You've already wiped out the old values that were there. That's one of the reasons why you have backups and things like that. In case you do an oops, I didn't mean to wipe out that data. Anyways, so let's make sure this is working. So we'll save the form and we'll call this transaction underscore FRM. All right, so we're going to click on view, and that brings it to the form view. So this is what it will look like when the user is using it. And as you notice, the record selectors are gone. And there's our titles. So you can't quite tell because this happens to fit exactly right. So if I'd made it a little bit longer, we could have seen if it really did cut off. My original Access database classes go all the way back to 2010. So I've been doing this for almost a decade now. So the version I originally worked on had some limitations. So let's go to View, Design View. And now what we're going to do, so the process flows, they're going to select a title, and then they're going to have two buttons. One is that it was sold, and one is that it was rented. So we're going to click on the button, or command as it calls it. Well, it says button, but it's going to be called a command. And we're not going to use this. So cancel. Now you can change the label, or the caption rather. So this doesn't change the name of the object. The object is still going to be command 2, but this will change what the user will see. So we'll call this sale. And we will create a new button. You can copy objects if you want to get it exactly the same size. Not a big deal. And again, we cancel. And we'll call this rent. And a brief splice there. I just selected the buttons and adjusted so the width and height matched. Anyway, so let's now attach the code. So with the button selected, let's go to event. I'm going to choose the on-click event. Click on the ellipsis. We want code builder. It's saying that when command 2 is clicked, we want something to happen. So I'm just going to paste this so I don't make any mistakes with the typing. And we'll read through this. So if you've watched any of my other videos, you've seen me use do command. But this time we're saying specifically what kind of command. We're using SQL. So everything that follows is going to be a SQL command. So quote, insert into, and then this is the name of the table. So insert into, the name of the table, and we're inserting values. Specifically, we're going to insert the value in combo 0. That's the drop-down box. So the value of combo 0. So again, it's quote, parenthesis, square bracket, the name of the object, square bracket, dot, value, parenthesis, quotation. So we save that. We could run it there, but it's really kind of a rinse and repeat at this point where what you've seen, you're just going to make one slight change to. So again, the button is selected, the event, on click, code builder. And for this button, since this is the rent button, we're going to make one change. The table was called for rent. And we save, close, save the form. So when we click on the drop-down box and we choose sale, it will make an entry into the sale table. If we click on the drop-down box and choose rent, it'll make an entry in the rent table. And then, like I said, beyond that, you can then say run a query to reconcile your transactional tables with your total tables, your inventory tables, because, like I said, these are basically transactions that you're tracking. It's a bare minimum. It's just the title. But if you know how to change one value, you'll know how to change the others. So we go to View, and let's choose Silent Hill, and that it was a sale. You get a warning that you're making a change. You click on OK. And let's say we sold another one, sale. So there should be 2 there. And then we did 1 taken. So we should have 2 Silent Hills and 1 taken. So let's open the sale table. Sure enough, 2 Silent Hills and 1 taken. So let's try rent now. So, and it doesn't matter what's selected over here. That's not what's working. The form is. So let's do Silent Hill rent, and then taken rent, then another taken rent, and then another taken. So 3 takens in a Silent Hill. Let's go to the for rent table. There you go. So now you've seen how you can modify multiple tables with a single form by utilizing SQL. And that's about it. Like I said, this is really simplistic because it's really just a transaction table. But I think that should about do it. So if you have any questions, just let me know.